Richmond, north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Living in
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
These are the sorts of things that we should talk about right in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Started giving people free quotes.
In sunshine and rainbows, it is
Definitely a thing for just being a solo
The
operator.
change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Welcome to the dungeon. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, Andy, you did mention your last name before, but we'll just give this out for everybody. We've got to give them some info on who you are.
Yeah, I'm Andy Watkins. I run Leaf by Leaf. We're a horticultural service business in Melbourne.
Yeah.
We work all over Melbourne. So, yeah, that's about sums it up, I guess. We all areas of Melbourne, from Woodend North to Brighton to Eltham, everywhere. We're everywhere.
Yep. Now, I have no idea when we start talking about suburbs in Melbourne. I just know that it's this big blob down the bottom of Australia and it's cold.
Yeah, it was fresh this morning, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's it. So we want to give people a really good idea of where you've come from and what you've done. Now, I have been deliberately picking on people on Instagram lately. I want to get more interviews from people that follow me. So if you follow me, then I follow you back and we try and get you in the dungeon and get it nice and warm.
Yeah, I guess I started listening to the podcast and then flicked on Instagram and seen you, and then here I am. So it works.
Awesome. That's the way it should be. So that's where I found you. I found you on Instagram, or you found me on Instagram, and it's like, okay, welcome. Come and join me in the dungeon.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're running the business Leaf by Leaf in Melbourne. Sounds like inner city Melbourne, but all over.
Yeah, so we're based in the northeast suburbs.
Yep.
We do. Look, we work everywhere, but mainly we're in the northeast and then central, I guess you'd say. For those that know Melbourne, we do a lot of work around Eltham, Research, Lower Plenty, Ivanhoe, Eaglemont, and then that's the sort of northeast. And then from there we go to the usual traps of Toorak, Brighton, Paran, South Yarra. Where the bigger houses are, essentially, where the bigger properties are.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But for the ones that we're doing out in Eltham and Research, Lower Plenty, we do a few acreage blocks, anywhere from 1 acre, 2 acre, 5 acres. We've got a 25 acre property that we take care of that's probably got 9 acres of pristine garden, give or take. It's hard to say.
Wow.
It's got some paddocks, but then, probably 9 acres of manicured garden.
That's a lot.
And then it is a lot. Yeah, it's a big job. It's a really big job. We're there every week, multiple people. But and then the furthest job we have away is Woodend, or Woodend North it is, which is, if anyone knows where Paul Bangay's Stonefields is, out that way. It's a 10 acre property it's actually one of our clients' weekender houses. It's their other house. And it's just a really, really nice garden. That's why I do it. It's apparently the person that owned it was a botanist. So it's got some Willamite pines and it's got a huge crystal clear dam and it's got 600 roses or something. Big fruit tree section. It's just a nice place to be. You get wedge-tailed eagles flying over you. It's just nice. You can't hear any cars. It's a good place to be. That's why we go there.
Andy, I want to come back to talking more about the types of jobs that you're doing, but at the moment, I want to give people a really good history about you. And judging by your pretty face, ginger hair, I'm guessing you are early to mid-30s.
Yep, mid-30s, bang on, 35. Been in the industry for coming up 15 years. Yep, that'd be right. Yeah, 2009. Yeah.
So on the way back to where you started in this industry, have you had anything to do with riding motorbikes? I've got to ask this, sorry.
No. I'm more of a slow and steady kind of guy. I like to surf and things like that, but it's never got into motorbikes. Broke my knee when I was 14 on a BMX, and that kind of, I don't know, put the brakes on anything too hardcore. I would love
I think,
to. We drive a lot of buggies and stuff like that for work, but it's the
yeah.
motorbike. I've never dipped my toe into it. So
Well, if you're
mountain
into
bikes as far as I
surfing,
get.
yeah, okay, mountain biking's good fun. I'm used to do a fair bit.
Yeah,
But
I live right near the Plenty Gorge in Victoria, so I think it's something like 256 kilometres of single track in there, when they're all put together, connected. So you
that's a lot.
can you can
Awesome.
ride for days in there. Yeah, it's great.
Nice. So if you're into surfing, is the surfing season over with down there yet?
I would love to say I'm into surfing, but life has got in the way of my surfing career. I think it was 3 years ago I probably got wet. But yeah, you just need thick rubbers down here. Just get a thick wetsuit and you'll get a
Yep.
quieter surf this time of the year, which is good. It pops up on my Facebook memories all the time. Like, oh, look at me out here looking for my sponsorship deal, riding 1 foot waves, just, being very, very entry level. But
Yeah.
it was just nice being out there. But I've got a baby now, so getting away for a surf for 8 hours is, not really likely.
I've got friends that used to surf professionally up in Port Macquarie, and they moved down to Phillip Island for the surf down there. So yeah,
Yeah,
so,
Woolamai's pretty great. And the knobbies and stuff like that. I've surfed there a few times. Pretty prolific for sharks down that way though, near Seal Rock. So I remember surfing there one day and hearing an English backpacker after we were talking about how murky the water was and that the seals like to swim here and what chases seals, and seeing the English
Yeah.
backpacker get out pretty quick. But yeah, I don't know. It's all part of the fun, I guess.
whenever you've got somebody who's not familiar with Australian wildlife, you've got to talk about drop bears and all sorts of things. Give them a scare.
Yeah, that's it. I've got family that lives overseas and they're always astounded. My American auntie came over and she was shocked that my dad had a kangaroo in his driveway. And I'd literally seen her daughter post a thing on Facebook about a black bear being at the bus stop. And I was like, I think I'd take my chances with the kangaroo over the black bear, but each to their own.
Well, those kangaroos get pretty vicious.
Yeah, they tend to run away, not run at you. So
Or until you find a big male kangaroo and they want to give you a kick.
Yeah,
I know a
that's
couple
true,
of friends that have actually been kicked by kangaroos. I haven't, but I know a couple that have.
Yeah, we definitely get some big greys down here that stand up and scratch their chest, and we just give them a bit of a wide swerve on the properties we look after. But yeah, they can do their own thing. We don't have too much to do with them, thankfully.
Yeah. So when you entered this industry, you would have been fresh out of school, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so I finished high school. I actually studied visual arts first. I went and done a diploma in visual arts.
Yeah.
And I loved it, but I realised there wasn't really any money to be made in it unless you wanted. I majored in photography and did a few little subcategories as well. And then just unless you wanted to be a wedding photographer or something, I just didn't want to do. There really wasn't any money to be made in it at the time. And now pretty much all the skills I learned, you just do on Instagram with a filter anyway. And then I did a few little odd jobs while I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to travel. That was about it. And then my brother actually got me a job fixing and installing parking meters. So that was a weird one to do. But it was great. We just got to ride bikes around the city, and that was with the maintenance side of it. And then you drive a van around when you're installing them. Which was nice. It just got me a little entry into the world of, working with strange people that you've never met before and from different cultures. And it was nice coming out of school. It was good. And then my one thing was I wanted to travel, but I didn't want to come back without a qualification or any sort of plan. So I decided an apprenticeship was the way forward, and landscaping sounded like a great idea. I've always liked being outside and working with my hands, but I didn't think I could be a builder. And then I sort of fell into the horticulture side of it more than the landscaping side. So I did my apprenticeship, and I did 4 years down here, Parks and Gardens, horticulture.
So that moved you straight into maintenance of gardens rather than the landscaping, hardscaping.
Yeah, so I thought I was signing up for a landscaping apprenticeship, and my boss decided I would be better in the horticulture side of things. I'm not sure if it was just convenient for him or if he's seen something, but I
Yeah.
ended up fast tracking it. I only took 6 months off, but I got it down to 3.5 years. And then I did night schooling as well and did the landscaping certificate and a design course as well. So ended up going essentially every Monday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for about a year in the last year. And then, yeah, so 3 years schooling through the apprenticeship every Monday. And then the last year I did, like a 12-hour day more at school, 14 hours, something like that. And then it would just be, after that, then I just had to finish off until the boss would tick me off, essentially.
Yeah.
And when I finished my apprenticeship, I left and went traveling. That was it. I knew me and the boss didn't really see eye to eye anymore, which was fine. It happens. And I left, went to the Chelsea Flower and Garden Show in England and traveled the world a bit with my partner and now wife, and came back and didn't have a job and I had a few cashies lined up. And yeah, that was 2013. So 11 years later, here we are. I've never worked for anyone ever again.
Yeah, okay. So you started your business as soon as you got back from the round the world trip?
Yeah, I had rent to pay, so I didn't have a choice. It was I was coming back to a rental and I needed money and I had a few cashies set up and it was just maintenance. And then bit by bit, I would, help out a friend here or help out a friend there and get a little, I said to you earlier, I was putting up notices on the local IGA and Gumtree was a thing back then. Once the trading post was gone, it was Gumtree and I'd put up little job ads on that and I'd do anything I could. And essentially for the first few years, if I was paying rent, had enough money to buy a slab and have a smile on my face at the end of the week, I was happy. And then probably 3 or 4 years in, you start to take things a bit more, you start to have a few more responsibilities and you start to think about life a bit more and, okay, you take it a bit more serious and all of a sudden you're getting a better job here and all of a sudden you're doing 40 hours a week easily and you're like, oh, the fun's gone now, but at least we're doing better work. And then,
and you said it was your wife that you did the round the world trip with, so there would have been a little bit of pressure to sort of cement the relationship, get married, and make make life a little bit serious. Unfortunately, right?
you would think that. I managed to drag out. I think it was 10 or 11 years before I proposed to her, and then we took another 4 before we got married. I think I've been with her for, I think we worked out, it's like 17 years now. It's pretty insane. Yeah. We met at that visual arts. She studied visual arts as well.
Yeah.
We met at uni, I guess. And we're still together, which is nice. Got a kid together and a house together. And it's, she understands that I'm into plants and comes along to days out, doesn't really care, but she'll come with us, which is nice. And you
got to be into something.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I went to the Chelsea Flower and Garden Show and she went shopping for the day. So, it's I understand it's not for everyone.
Yeah. So when you first started back in business, what sort of jobs were you taking on? Were you taking on hedge trimming and gardening jobs? Were you taking on lawn mowing? Were you taking on any like putting mulch in garden beds, all of those sorts of things? Or just was it really a case of whatever you could get, wherever you could get it?
Yeah, so it's like I was lucky the company I did my apprenticeship with did a fairly high-end job as well. I was probably, in hindsight, lucky they didn't structure their apprentices very well in the fact that we were often working by ourselves, but that gave me the opportunity to realize how I could run a day and set myself out to finish a job, which probably wasn't the best as a first or second year, but it was great long term. I was taking on everything I knew how to do, essentially. So if it was rose pruning season, I'd put my hand up for all the winter rose pruning. If it was fruit tree pruning, if it was lawn repair, if it was mulching and fertilizing, if it was planting. The more I did, the more I was like, all right, well, we can do that and offer a better service than a lot of other people can. We'll keep pushing that. And now with my design side of things as well, I often do, I like to call it softscaping. So it's a term that gets thrown around a lot down here. We do a lot of softscaping. So I tend to I know how to do the hardscaping stuff, but there's so many good guys down here that I just leave that to them. It's a market that I'm not willing to compete with, and the overheads just become crazy. I know what I'm good at, and then we can come in and service a garden, and then it goes from just a first visit to I've got clients that I've been doing since I came back from that holiday. So 13, 14 years ago, I've still got those clients because I've watched that, you plant a tree and you watch it grow, and that's really satisfying. But if you get to see that tree grow over 10, 15, 20 years, it's really, really satisfying,
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard a number of people use the term softscaping and hardscaping, and softscaping, in my understanding, covers everything in the maintenance world. So your lawn mowing, your gardening, you're putting mulch on garden beds, doing your weed treatments, doing your hedge trimming, all those sorts of things, right? But I think in terms of comparing it to hardscaping, it's more about we'll do the plant installs rather than the retaining walls. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Essentially,
not
we'll
just the
do
install, but some of the design as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we definitely help with install and design and the future proofing of a garden. Don't plant that there because this tree's going to grow and it's going to cast a shadow and stuff like that. It's what comes with time, knowledge. I was thinking about it recently, and I think I've been doing it for so long, but really, I think when I hit that 10-year mark, everything, like in the Matrix, when he just starts to see clear and he can see things, that's kind of how it feels. It's like the last few years, it's just really clicked in. Like, this is okay. It's August. We need to do this. We're doing this because it's going to happen in, this thing's going to happen in February that we're already preparing for the garden. We're turning soils over. We're fertilizing. We're pruning. We're doing this. It's not just mow and blow. It's a full package service. It's irrigation checks. It's going through everything. Pretty much what we don't offer is concreting, decks and pergolas, outdoor kitchens. The guys that we work with, like some big landscaping companies down here, they do amazing stuff. Pool installs, they're award-winning gardens. I don't want to come in and do like what I would consider a bang average garden, so I just don't offer it. If I can't do the top of what is needed, I don't want to offer that as part of my company, because why would you? Why would you lesser yourself when it's not even a niche that we do, it's just more of a softscaping and horticultural service, I guess, opposed to a landscaper, I guess. It really depends on who you talk to, Some people say you're a landscape gardener. Some people say you're a gardener. Some people go, oh, you're just like gyms. And then, some people might get their nose out of joint and I'll say, oh, I'm an environmental strategist working on small scale projects all over Melbourne. And they say, oh, what's that mean? I say, I'm a gardener. It just depends on who you talk to is what you do.
So when you talk about the matrix and he starts to be able to see clearly, right? So you've gone through the learning process, the education phase, to where your vision of a garden has become really clear. And when you're working on high-end gardens, you're able to envision what's good for that garden and help the customers decide what's good, right? So the low-end version of that is when you've got a cowboy starts lawn mowing and then the customer asks them to cut it shorter, and the cowboy all of a sudden starts getting educated by necessity when they realize that the customer's trying to do them out of work by cutting it shorter. They want to go, all right, instead of cutting fortnightly, we want it cut monthly and we want it scalped so that you don't have to come back until 5 weeks later. So I guess at every level in this industry, there's a level of education. You'll learn as you do. And you've reached the high end of that education level, not just because you've done an apprenticeship in horticulture, but also because of the people you've been working with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you still learn every day. Like for us, there's so, there's new plants every time you go to the nursery. You're like, geez, I've never seen that before. And then you get a design off a designer, and you've got 2,000 plants to put in, and you're going, there's about 800 plants there. I have no idea what they are. So you've got to learn, and that's how you better yourself. People always say when you work for yourself, you might have heaps of time off, or it's the lifestyle. For me, maybe I'm the worst boss I've ever had, because I've just always been busy, and I've always come home to do that extra bit of work, and I've always pushed myself to get up, and it's get to the job on time, don't be late, work to 4 o'clock. If there's something little that can be done extra, do it, because that's what the difference is it sounds wanky, but I want our company to be considered, in the top companies that you would recommend. If someone drives past, like, oh, it's the Leaf by Leaf guys, I want people to be like, geez, they're good. I want that. I don't want to just be the guy that goes to work. I want recognition for the work that we're doing.
I don't think it sounds wanky. And I mean, that's one thing if you're in the place where you think that sounds wanky, good on you. But I don't think that. And I think it's comparable to some of the things I've learnt in my business. I started at the low end. Like, I thought I was doing a good job and doing good quality work. But as I saw different things, I became more educated and more focused on improving that quality and doing better customers' jobs. So like you, looking for the higher end customers, and what sometimes it happen across them. I had a job that landed me doing a yard beside another yard, and the lady comes out and asks me if I can mow her lawn and do her gardens because she likes the quality of work. And then she tells me that her husband runs Bromeliads Australia. And I was like, wow, not only do they like the quality of work that I do, but I never imagined that there would be a company in my area that has a whole business structure built around just providing different species of bromeliads to all the swanky places in Sydney and New South Wales.
Yeah, I guess, for me, what I've learned is saying yes goes a long way as well. You don't have to say yes to everything, but at least have a look at it. And, that little lady that offers you something might be the mum or the sister or someone of the job that you really want. So you just have to get there and do a good job. I guess for us, sure, we've got a really nice client list these days with, some really fancy houses and some really, next level, like gardens. They're beautiful, but in the end of the day, they're paying the same as what everyone else pays, and they're still just a client. It's a garden. The difference is you have to take some ownership of that garden and make it your own to make it enjoyable. Otherwise, you'll learn to hate that garden over time if you're going weekly or whatever. I've got a garden, a really big one we look after 2 days a week, every week, 2 guys. And every time anyone that hasn't seen it before comes up, and my wife will drop a coffee off, and she said, we should have got married here. And I look around, I'm like, oh, it's pretty nice, but I see the weeds in it, and I see the hedge that hasn't been cut, and I see the irrigation sprinkler that needs fixed. And it's easy to forget how nice it is some days, but it's also, you have to remember the crap jobs that you've done to get there. Like, it's sometimes looking back, my brother works for us, and he came in probably 3 years into when I was working for myself, and we laugh about all the little jobs that we used to do. And when he left his job, he had a work ute, so then he didn't have a car at the time, so he was driving around in his little Toyota Yaris following me. And we were just laughing that we were doing 5, 6, 7 jobs a day, and we're like, we weren't making money. It was just like, pointless. I probably had enough hours to give him half a week, but I was like, nah, we'll come on for full time and we'll do it. And we
Yeah.
were just like, well, I guess we'll go to the tip and we'll get rid of this green waste, and then there'll be something that'll pop up. And they're just, you
Yep.
just had to get on with it, and you do those hard yards for a while. And now it's, well, I've got about 200 hours a week that I need to be doing, but we just had a guy leave, so we're back down to 160 hours a week. I'm hoping to bill, and that's yeah. I've come, when you look back, it's a long way from driving around in the Yaris going, oof, hope someone calls next week. Might check that ad on Gumtree and see if it's had any traction.
The days when Gumtree ads were worthwhile, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Gumtree, Facebook, it's all, I don't really use anything now. Instagram for sure is more of a portfolio for us, but we don't advertise, thankfully. We've got enough feed indoors now that the work seems to come in regularly. But that's what you got to do. If you're starting out, you just got to say yes, do every job to the best of your ability, and just keep doing that. And if you're not happy, then maybe it's not for you. But I was doing those really, really dodgy jobs at the start, especially leaving an apprenticeship where I was doing pretty nice places, to then go backwards so far. But I was happy I was out on my own. It felt like I was making good money at the time until, you start paying real bills and things and doing it properly. The money, the jobs, looking back, it's comical, the stuff we were doing in comparison to now, but it was still fun. Like, we were laughing at work, we were having fun. So, and that's how I try to manage it now. Like, if we're having fun at work, then we're doing good jobs, because people want to see people being happy in their garden. They don't want to see 4 miserable guys walking around dragging their feet. It's just, you got to be happy with what you're doing. And if that's pushing yourself to get to that top end, then that's what you got to be doing, I guess.
Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas, and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through to 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money season after season. I want to come back and talk about this because I believe, regardless of where you start, whether you start being a complete cowboy like I was, or whether you start with a horticulture trade like you've started, you've got to take on the jobs that you get because there's scarcity when you start. But I'm a big believer in changing your mindset. So deliberately acknowledging my mindset is built on scarcity and going, okay, what can I do to change that? And part of it is getting enough work so that there is no scarcity. So then you can work on a mindset from abundance, right? But along the way, you've got to be able to really self-analyze and change that and go, okay, let's change from this job's really important. I need to land this. I hope that somebody calls next week because otherwise we're going to struggle, through to, I want to say yes to find out what that job is, but I'm also ready to, like, building a list of exclusion points. So when I have a look at this job, there's a bunch of boxes that it needs to tick in order for me to take that job on. Otherwise, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I can't do this job for you. So you start excluding things from a place of abundance, whereas from a place of scarcity, you keep on taking on those jobs that are running your business into the ground.
For sure. I think when I finished my apprenticeship, the company, I'm not sure what was happening in the back end. I never really asked that. They started accepting a lot more body corporate jobs and jobs that we'd never done before. It was always high-end residential stuff. Well, not high-end, but just, nice gardens that were residential. And I think maybe they'd seen that there was money to be made in body corporate stuff. But then all of a sudden they were saying things like, oh, we'll mow and come in and take care of the garden, but if you need your stairwell vacuumed, the guys will do that. And it got my nose out of joint. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and the guys that do that, good on them, but I just done 3.5 years of schooling to be paid absolute pittance, and I wasn't going to be there to mow to vacuum someone's stairs. I was there to do horticultural work, and that's why I did it. Yeah. And I think that sort of gave me the confidence to say, okay, well, we can accept what we want, but you also have to have a threshold of what you don't want, and you need to know that. I think running your own business, it's hard to say no sometimes, but if you're going and you're doing something you hate, you're just going to hate your job. Like you need to give yourself boundaries, essentially, which is hard when money's a scarcity. But you need to have boundaries. Otherwise, you'll just get, clients will just push you down and make you do whatever. And you can't do that, especially if you're employing people. You can't expect them to do that for you.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.